Will Centrus Energy skyrocket and provide life-changing returns? Well, it already kind of has been skyrocketing. Over the last 3 months, it's up 50%. Now, part of that comes from this massive development. The United States Department of Energy announces award for HALEU uranium conversion. Centrus Energy announced today that its subsidiary American Centrifuge Operating LLC has won an award from the U.S. Department of Energy to support deployment of technology and equipment to deconvert high-assay, low-enriched uranium. ACO is one of 6 awardees being announced today for deconversion, with a minimum contract value of $2 million and a maximum value for all awardees of $800 million. So Centrus Energy is very closely connected with the United States government. This is just one example of that. I've had a lot of respect for Centrus for a long time, mainly because it's kicking off massive earnings, right? Price to earning ratio 11, earning per share 5.66. Unlike many uranium companies, this company is kicking off solid earnings and cash flow, which puts it in a great position for the coming nuclear renaissance, right? And for the coming multi-decade supply crunch in uranium. Price of Centrus has been super weak of late, which has caused people to overlook it. About a year ago, the price was $53. In September, it hit a low of $35, and that's because a lot of the business Centrus has done in the past has revolved around Russia uranium. Department of Energy allows nuclear company Centrus to import Russian uranium in 2024 to 2025. So they got a waiver, which means they're going to be able to continue cash flowing on scarce uranium from Russia till the end of 2025. So that's very good for earnings. But what is this company about other than that, right? Because they're not going to be able to do it after 2025, or so the government would want you to think. But what is this company all about? How are they able to produce such phenomenal earnings? How are they able to be so undervalued? Can their growth and therefore share price skyrocket going forward? They're saying they have stable cash flows with high growth opportunity, LEU distribution business with complementary high growth technical solutions business, significant barriers to entry for both businesses. They're saying they're the only publicly traded company addressing nuclear fuel enrichment in the world. One of 2 companies in the US licensed to produce commercial LEU uranium. Only company that could be able to supply the US government LEU for national security purposes. So this is why I said they're deeply connected with the US government. So just a strategic asset, almost perfectly situated to take advantage of the growing nuclear renaissance and the U.S. government's investment in a domestic supply chain, right? Again, they're already in deep value territory with their massive and growing earnings. They've already delivered 179 kilograms of high-assay, low-enriched uranium to the Department of Energy. They're well-capitalized, de-risked balance sheet. We're going to confirm that. They're an LEU supplier to blue chip utilities in North America, Asia, and Europe. So the market cap is around $600 million. Their 2023 revenue was $320 million, and their 2023 net income was $84 million. A lot of that did come from importing Russian uranium, which will continue into 2025, right? But that is an incredible profit. $84 million on $320 million of revenue. And this is the split of how they generate their revenue. Technical solutions, 16%. Expect that to grow as more and more companies and utilities need this. And then the rest is from their low enriched uranium segment. And so this explains kind of the nature of their business. The LEU segment, the low enriched uranium segment, acting as a broker. Centrus provides the enrichment component of LEU primarily to utilities that operate commercial nuclear power plants. So that is their LEU segment. That is their bread and butter, right? So their ability to broker Russian uranium in the US won't be as strong, but they're still going to be able to broker and enrich uranium to utilities globally, right? And again, they're already doing a great job of that. And this is their financial snapshot that they gave as of August 2024. So as recent as possible, right? $189 million in new LEU sales commitments in 2023 included in backlog. $2.7 billion of backlog as of June 30, 2024. Massive revenue incoming for this company as they broker uranium. Annual net income growth, 38% from 2017 to 2023. Very easy to do that. Low cost of goods, right? They're brokers. Cash as of 6/30/2024, $227 million. That's definitely a lot. And then reductions in annual selling, general, and administrative expenses, $7.5 million since 2017. So they're shrinking their expenses and growing their revenues. And cash pile. Very financially healthy company as of right now. So this is how the LEU business works, right? Global network of uranium suppliers send their uranium to Centrus. Nuclear power plants and utilities have generated a $1.7 billion low-enriched uranium revenue backlog through 2040 utility customers across the world, US, Asia, and Europe. U.S. utilities purchased 4.1 million Russian origin SWU in 2023, 27% of U.S. demand in 2023. So Centrus won't have the Russian business anymore, but that speaks to how important the Russian business is. And so what's very interesting, again, very closely aligned with the United States government, national security. So naval reactors, military microreactors, nuclear forces, non-proliferation, research reactor conversion, space missions, reactor demonstrations. Centrus's AC-100M centrifuge is the only deployment-ready U.S. technology capable of meeting national security requirements. That's why they're so closely aligned with the United States, right? Because they have this technology, they have these technological solutions. It's a what is their capacity, right? Centrus is solving for the supply gap in LEU and HALEU. So this chart speaks to the massive multi-decade supply shortfall of uranium, right? We're saying it's a multi-decade supply crunch. These guys clearly understand the market. It's their entire business. And this is the shortfall they're talking about. So in 2025, they're expecting a 7.2 million separative work units. That's what SWU means. SWU is the standard measure of the effort required to separate isotopes of uranium during an enrichment process in nuclear facilities. And so what they're saying is there is a massive shortfall, right? 7.2 million SWUs in 2025, 5.1 million shortfall in 2030. And they're saying Centrus can produce 2.1 million of that, right? They do have a complicated business. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill uranium miner that has X amount in the ground, but they're saying they can fill the gap, a big chunk of the gap, not all of it, by 2.1 million standard work units of the LEU demand shortage. And again, they're one of two companies in a US NRC license to produce commercial LEU. Competitor is foreign owned. I have to stress this, right? Only Centrus would be able to supply the US government LEU for national security purposes. Very interesting. So if you believe that there's a shortage of uranium, and you understand the massive connections of this company, and you understand how well positioned they are to continue to be a broker and continue making massive profits, then you realize that people are sleeping on this company. Yes, the Russian business will go away, which will eat into their earnings, but they're still so well positioned to take advantage of the coming multi-decade supply crunch in uranium. And what is the catalyst for all this, right? $3.3 billion of federal investment in high-assay low-enriched uranium and low-enriched uranium. That's from the federal government, right? Who is Centrus close with? The federal government. And so this is what they're saying sets them apart from their competitors. We talked about this, $1.7 billion low-enriched uranium revenue backlog with contracts through 2040. So clearly they're going to be kicking off massive revenue through 2040. World's most diversified supplier of enriched uranium. Leading customers include Fortune 500 utilities, business relationships with 35 plus nuclear utilities. So a big network. This is very interesting. So I've talked a lot about Oklo on this channel. That's Sam Altman's small modular reactor. TerraPower, Bill Gates's company, and X Energy and ICHNP. They've signed several agreements with these key nuclear players to further spur development of next generation nuclear capability. So Centrus is an AI play, right? It is so well positioned to take advantage of the growing nuclear renaissance and the massive demand for nuclear power from these SMRs and from uranium. So it's very, very, very strategically positioned. And yes, it is kicking off massive earnings. Now, this is where it gets massive for this company, right? The biggest headwind for this company as perceived by the market is the ban on Russian uranium. They're saying it's actually a potential tailwind. So currently the US is getting 27% of its entire US utility enrichment from Russia. That's going away. And then 73% are other foreign state-owned corporations. So Centrus is saying they can fill the gap. Centrus has contingency planning to mitigate near-term disruption of Russian supply. So they're saying they can still get supply for the US. Centrus is the only NRC licensed producer of HALEU and one of two NRC licensed companies that can enrich to LEU. So Centrus actually fills a pretty massive gap here, right? Domestic uranium miners and enrichers like Centrus can fill the void that Russia is leaving, and they should only profit from this as the US invests billions of dollars into its domestic supply chain. So massive. This is where it gets even better, right? We know waivers were granted to Centrus for Russian supply for 2024 and 2025. Waiver requests for 2026 and 2027 deferred by the Department of Energy to unspecified date closer to delivery. So what if they can continue this massive business where they're generating insane profits through 2027, right? But even if they can't, they're saying they have contingency planning to mitigate near-term disruption. So just a very strong business, well-positioned to take advantage of the massive nuclear renaissance that we have on our hands, right? And the multi-decade supply crunch in uranium. So let's look at their financials, right? I'm not too worried about their financials at all, given that they're kicking off massive profits, right? Which means they're self-sustaining. They don't have to necessarily dilute their shareholders. They can invest this money wisely and smartly, but this is where we are currently, right? Let's look at their balance sheet, the financial health of their company. As of June 30, 2024, they have cash of $227 million, right? Plenty of money to reinvest. They have total current assets of $593 million. They have total current liabilities of $390, right? Current liabilities are what they have to pay within a year. Current assets are their liquid assets that they can liquidate within a year. So this speaks to kind of the broker nature of their relationship, how they pay people for uranium and then sell the uranium. So they do have a pretty big liability section, but they're still super solvent, right? They still have more than $200 million of net current assets. They're super solvent, hundreds of millions of dollars of cash for this company. People are sleeping on this company and the role it's going to play in the coming nuclear renaissance. So can it skyrocket? Absolutely. It's already pretty undervalued, and the United States government is doing whatever it can to make this thing a massive cash cow.